Alright, the first thing I want to speak about is like what makes a good Viper, and everyone thinks like what makes a good Viper is having one-way lineups, post-plant mollies, crazy mollies from different positions, lineups, smokes, all of that. But that doesn't really make a good Viper, in my opinion. A good Viper is knowing your timings and using your gas at the correct time. The most basic way to play defense is like this, with just a wall across here to help B, to help your A players if they have to fall back, and then your own smoke on C. This is the best default you can do with it, and it's all about having your timings correct. So most of the time you're just going to be jump spotting here. There'll probably be an alarm bot in garage, and you're just gonna be jump spotting, and then you're only going to use your smoke when you see them based on timing. But then you have to, in ranked, you have to look at your radar a lot. You can't really rely on your teammates. You're gonna have to stare at the radar and think about when you need to put your wall up. You can't rely on your teammates to ask for the wall, as much as it would be nice to do that. In ranked, that's not going to happen. Obviously, in a team environment, they're going to ask for the wall. Again, I'll also get to why Viper's bad at the end of this in ranked. To make the good Viper for yourself, to play it for yourself, is just look at your radar and use your wall best you can for your teammates. And then at long, if you see them and they're thinking about execing, you see the arrows coming over the fade eyes. Just drop your molly, focus on shooting all of that. They're not going to run through this. If they do, you're going to kill them. It's going to delay for your teammates to rotate in, and they're going to be able to get into the site and fight with you. If you pop the smoke prematurely and they're not actually execing yet, so you've seen them, you've popped it, there's nothing coming over, and you're going to run out of gas, just keep holding it, and as it's about to go, drop your molly, and that's going to allow a little bit more time for you to get your gas back on your smoke. Drop your second molly, and then you're going to have a little bit more gas to play around with. Your teammates are going to rotate it over, and you're going to have more help there, and then your gas is back along. So that's the basic way to play defense. In version 1, we played it on this map. We were pretty successful. We played around with different ways to use Viper on defense, but it basically all came down to using it the same way. We would just run this wall, we would run that smoke, and that's pretty much all we would do. We tried doing this wall. We didn't get much success with it. Like we'd come out short and we would hold it, but you're blocking off your own long, so it was pretty poor. We tried coming out long, taking this control and putting this across the window, and again, we just didn't have much success with it. We tried it and it wasn't great. The best success we had was just your normal wall. You come here, you line it up, and your teammates still get aggressive at the start, so we would still have our Silver, Arrow, our Jet getting on the long angle, because obviously getting your Jet on this angle or on this angle is super important. But what it did for us is if they decided to come A late, we could fall back, and we just had this wall to put up. So if we decided that, let's say Jet, Cypher, we didn't run Cypher, we ran Killjoy. Say Silver. Say Breach. So let's just say you've got your teammates here, and they've helped get Jet on the angle. Jet's holding the angle at long. She can look at all of this. And then you're pretty much playing heavy garage, heavy B, heavy C. Like you're playing around this area, and then Jet falls back. Jet gets pressured, she falls back, and then you pop your wall. So when the Viper pops the wall, the other team have to make a decision. Are they going to run through the wall and flood onto your teammate, which it's not going to go well for them most of the time, and they don't know who's behind it, right? They don't know if all three of your teammates are around this area, one in heaven, one behind sight, one CT. They're going to come through the wall. And back then, when we were using it, they instantly lost HP. They were doomed. So the other team has to make a decision, and most of the time they're going to hold. They're going to see out the wall, and that just allows people to rotate back over, and just to be in a safer position to help hold A, leave your B weak, leave your C weak. You can leave your B and C because you know that the other team have pressured all of A, so they're not going to get back to B or C fast enough. You can definitely leave C weak, especially if Viper has her 2 mollies and a smoke. They're going to have to run through them to kill her. She's probably going to get 1 or 2. Like, for instance, here, Zelsus went plus 18, and it was just so easy to play Viper against anyone, really, because once they're running through, they're just dead. But yeah, that sums up the defense, really. That's how you want to play defense. There's not much more to it. I can show you the Viper ults that we looked at. So the best Viper ult for us was you would do this wall, you'd run over here, you would do this one way for yourself, you would put an alarm bot in garage, and then you would ult like this. It's a little bit harder with the update now, because when you come out, you're losing a lot more fuel. You would do it deeper, even. I would run a little bit further down. When you come out now, you lose your gas a lot quicker, so it's a little bit rough now. But what we would do is you would just have your Viper could just hold this and play on your own. When we were running Killjoy, we would put the Killjoy turret here, and by the time they walk up and the Killjoy turret shoots them, it would kill them. We would use this ult, Viper's job's to hold here, the alarm bot has this, and then that allows you to stack 2 here, 2 here, take A control with 3, whatever you want to do. But the Viper can hold this itself. As soon as the alarm bot gets popped, pop your one way, and you're holding this. And that, again, allows your team to rotate back to you, because you have to go back in to recharge your fuel. Obviously now, it sucks a little bit, which we'll get to. Like, it's not great to be able to do this now, because your fuel just doesn't go up. Your smoke integrity doesn't go up high enough. But when you do pop this, I'm just going to let the ult go down. When you do pop this and you come out of it, it's going to allow your teammates to rotate back over. Again, the same thing that happens on A. The wall goes up, the other team have to make a decision. Do I want to go through this wall? Do I want to risk fighting this? Or do I want to wait for Viper to run out of gas and then go? The same thing's going to happen when you pop this smoke. When you pop this smoke, the guy in garage has to decide, well, do I want to come across? Do I want to fight this? The Viper could be watching me, he might not be watching me. So they have to stall, and they have to wait for their team to rotate over. And that's pretty much how we played it on defense, and we didn't change much. We thought would be a weakness, but there's not much another team can do about it other than risking taking the timing. So if they do pressure your jet off the angle, and you pop your wall, they just flood through. But sometimes we would read that they're going to do this, and this is just about adapting in the game, and it's doing it as a team, not in ranked. But we would be like, okay, if they're going to push jet off this, I think they're going to just come through the wall. So Sova, stay on A with jet. Like, no matter what, if jet has the angle, stay in A link, so you can come straight through and you can throw a dart straight in and you can get into the site and fight with them. That's how we would adapt to the situation. So yeah, like I said, the best things about Viper is your timings. It's not having lineups. You don't need any flashy lineups to play Viper. You just need to use your brain and get used to timings and reading the other team. And it takes some time to do that, but once you do, that's the best part about being a good Viper player, in my opinion. The first time we ran Viper was, we were practicing it with, obviously we were playing with Whippy, not Jammies, in practice, but this is when we were doing post-plant meta. So this is the first time we used Viper, and we went full post-plant meta. And up until this tournament in Iceland, I know this is a long time ago, we hadn't shown this comp, and we hid it in the first game as well. We didn't play it in this game. We didn't even get to Haven, but we weren't going to play it. We played all our old comps, and we didn't play post-plant meta, and we saved it for Liquid. And then we played post-plant. So the first meta with Viper is post-plant meta. They're also playing Viper. How we played this was, it was fairly easy for us to get into the sites. We would just brute force it. So we would have Solver, Killjoy, Astra. So all of our after plans is on Killjoy, Solver, Viper, and Astra. So once we got a site, it was about coming off and playing post plant, and this is just what we did in Iceland. So we would plan here or here or here, and we would have lineups for it. But what we would do is once we get into the site, let me go to here. So we had Sova, we had Astra, Viper, and Killjoy. So what we would do is as soon as we take the site, we would have Viper come out and play post plants. We would have Astra playing post plants. We would have Killjoy stay in the site, and we would have Jet stay in the site. And what would usually happen is Killjoy would actually put her mollies on the chokes and time his mollies on the choke, and he would put his alarm bot, like maybe his alarm bot in garage, his turret here, and he wouldn't necessarily always use. Sometimes Jordan, he had a free roll, like he'd go off feeling. So if he gets onto the site, he can set up his site to hold it. These two would buy as much time as possible on the site. So the mollies would buy like 10, 12 seconds. They have to deal with the alarm bot, they have to deal with Jet, they have to clear Killjoy, right? So they have to kill these two. So they have to get past these two mollies, which if Jordan uses them correctly, that's going to delay time. They're not going to run through them. They're going to be like, okay, we can wait. So they're going to wait out those mollies. Then when they get into the site, they have to kill Killjoy. Then they have to kill Jet, and they're going to get kills. They're going to get 1 or 2 kills. Then they have to deal with the Viper mollies coming over. So usually we would do Viper mollies first, and then Whippy would go round and lurk through. So this would all be dead. So even if it was planted here, if it was planted here, it was better, but whatever. In any of the things, Viper would instantly throw his mollies. As soon as these two die, he would throw his mollies, or they would call for the timing. And then he would run straight round, and he would start lurking. And then, meanwhile, while he's lurking round, you still have the Astra Suck, which is going to come on the bomb. And then you have the Silver Shock Darts. So it was near impossible for the way our game plan worked. If we got the bomb down at this event, because no one had seen it before, it was near impossible for a team to retake versus, which is why we won so many rounds against Liquid. Like they didn't know what to do or how to deal with it. And that was the simple meta. So once we had shown all of this, we had to then think of a way to change up how we used Viper, because we still enjoyed using Viper and it was still really strong, but we couldn't just go post plant all the time, because what would happen is we would take the site. Let's just say they're the other team. We would take the site, and before we can even get off the site, they would just flood in. They would flood in. They would get some kills, and Killjoy didn't have time to set up, to delay. Jet, we weren't expecting them to fast retake, and that's what would beat us. So we had to sit down and think of a way to deal with the fast retakes and what we can do. So what we came up with was, instead of us taking a site and coming off the site and instantly playing post plants, because we would do the same thing here, right? We would just come into this corner, they would play post plants, Asher would use a suck, Killjoy would sit under heaven, Jet would be around here, and they would hold the site, and then you would play post plant. So instead of us doing that, what we did is we would take the site, we would put our smoke on CT, Astra would use all of his smokes on heaven, and we would use the Viper smoke for CT. And instead of instantly running out the site, we would put our alarm bot here, we would use a molly here, we would use another molly here, we would then use both Viper mollies on CT, and if we timed them correctly, it was just too hard for them. They'd have to run through, take damage from the mollies, maybe be vulnerable from the Viper mollies, and they just couldn't retake through CT. And then FEs, the way FEs would play is he would probably be the last man saloon. So let's say they do get through and killers, he would have 2 shock darts, maybe sometimes he's got his ult, and there just wasn't enough time, and that's one of the reasons FE's clutch percentage is so high. He would always clutch up rounds by being the last man standing. And I'll just show you now in game some of the things we did when we took the site. And you can do this in ranked as well. So we would come up, we'd throw this, Then you would have Killjoy's alarm bot. As soon as it goes off, Killjoy would use it both for mollies. So they're not going to run through this one way. So this one way is going to waste a lot of time. Then when that dies, you're going to have the Killjoy alarm bot. That's going to go off. The mollies are going to go off. That's going to push them back through. Then I'm going to go like this. Then I'm going to go like this again. Then I'm going to repop my one way. And they're going to really struggle to retake it. So I still do, if I play Viper in ranked, I still do this now. Sometimes I'm not going to have the time to come here and just throw this. And sometimes it's going to miss. But to throw this, you just come against here. I think you just aim at 1, 2, 3, and it should land every time. But sometimes you're not going to have the time to do that in ranked, so you're probably just going to come up, you're going to clear sight with your team, and then you're probably just going to throw a normal one. Not like this, do not throw this, this is horrendous. But you can throw it straight in, and it's going to cover most of it here. They have to come through this little gap, and you can, as it's fading again, you can just drop your mollies in ranked, and they're probably not going to come through. You can do the same over on C. Again, in a team game, we had time to line this up where we would come here, we'd go up from this, see that to this third pillar here, I think it is, and this would land as a one way. So in a team game, we would have time to do this. Yeah, we would do the one way, and then, but in ranked, I would just throw this into CT. Like, I just want to get this down. Like, I don't trust my teammates to cover me in ranked while I'm setting up this one way, while I don't trust them to clear all the sight, so I'm just going to run in. If we're hitting C, I'm just going to throw it over into CT, and I'm just going to run up. And then again, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to time my mollies. I'm going to play around this area in ranked most of the time. I'm going to keep holding. They're probably not going to run through. It's in ranked. They're panicking. It's smoked. In ranked, they're not going to run through. Alright, it's fading. Going to keep holding. Throw my second. They're going to try and spam me probably. But you get the drift. You're going to play it like this. So yeah, that's how we changed it up the second time. So we went from post-plant meta to holding the sites. We didn't really get to run the holding the sites comp that as much as we'd want to. And then I kind of figured out that Viper counters chamber. Probably a little bit too late, but I also didn't force it on my team to do it, and I should have forced it on my team. So the most recent way to use her was, in my opinion, to counter chamber. What we would do is we would run, you would throw this wall, and you would throw this wall on all of the defaults as well. So what this wall does is, like I spoke about the jet or the chamber being on this line, you can keep popping this. They don't know whether you've crossed. They have no info for sewer, which means to get any information, they have to come through sewer and they have to get on this angle, which we wouldn't allow them to do. We were running Viper, Neon, Chamber, Sky, Astra. And the whole reason of this comp was to counter Chamber. So I started thinking about ways, like Chamber is so OP, we needed a way to nullify him. I came to the conclusion that this was the best way to do it. And it was to throw this wall at the start of the round. So you keep popping it, he can't come on this angle, so he has to come to short. But then what we would do is we would have, so we'd have a gravity well here ready, so we'd put an Astra Star here, just for, I'll answer that question in a second. We put a Astra Star here, so that would mean if he wants to come out into short, he has to come through this Vipe wall, he has to come past this Astra Star, and he has to take the angle. Which some people would do, but to stop him doing that at the start of the round, we would sometimes have Neon throw a stun down here. So we would keep the Astra Star there, we would throw a stun, and then that would allow, just to mix it up the defaults, we don't necessarily do this all the time, this is just a set precedent, so it was like, Chamber, you can't come through here without being punished. Neon could slide at him, we could just throw it, and then Neon can go away, and Astra can just, not Astra, Viper can just lurk around this area, and just bank on this guy not coming through. If he comes through, and he gets hit by the stun, he's going to TP out. So that's his TP gone. If he comes up here and tries to use the wall, he has to be scared of Sky flashing through. Sky flashing over. Then his TP's gone. He TP's out. So that's how we would nullify Chamber from playing A, which was probably his strongest bit on Haven. So Chamber could not play on A. He couldn't hold this angle. He couldn't come through and hold this angle. If we allowed him to come through and hold this angle, and we thought he might have at this angle, the Viper would call it because she would be like around this area, anywhere around here. Maybe he'd be in this corner. Maybe he'd be in this corner, holding. And he'd call Chamber could have the A short angle. So what we would do then is we would come back after defaulting around here. I'll talk through the default in a second. And we would come back and we would just use the dog to dog him out short. And again, he has to TP. He has to shoot the dog and he has to TP. He can't really stay there. So the way the default works in general, so we would have a chamber. As we put this wall up, we would have our own chamber and our Sky. We would have Astra, Watchers C long. The chamber's job was solely to come into here with Sky. Sky would flash him in. He would set his TPs up like this and this. He would come in, they would flash it, he'd shoot the alarm bot, and then they've got no alarm bot for Garage then. So what does that do for them? So if you're the other team and you've just lost your alarm bot in Garage, you have no vision of A, so you have no angle on A. It would mean they would have two people have to play A, right? They can't move people off of A. So they would have to play two players on A, but they would have their Omen over here. You broke the Chamber alarm bot. Chamber can't play A, so Chamber has to either be on B or he has to be on C. They're the only two positions he can viably play. He can't play Garage because at the start of the round we're going to default. He can't push outdoors, so he has to be on B or he has to be on C. So let's just say in this instance he's on B, Omen's on C. They have to keep two players on A, and now their fifth guy has to worry about Garage. So they're so spread out that if we can push this guy off B, so he has to use the TP with just a simple flash, he has to TP off, he's going to TP over here, and they're just so spread out that we can take anything we want. We can go back to A, they don't have any info, we can go up onto B, and it was just about feeling them out. They have to come clear Chamber, so if they want to come clear Chamber, they have to come over as two to clear him, throw an Omen flash, he TPs out, we've wasted their Omen flash, they can't retake A, we're just going to go hit A. If we feel like this guy has left his guy solo on A, then we're definitely going to hit A. And that's kind of how we would run the default. We would always work around this area of the map. So we would work Garage on B. We would focus on breaking the Chamber alarm bot. And then if we wanted to go back to A, it was on Viper. If we wanted to do an aggressive A, we would just have Neon come slide down. We would take full control. And then once we get into these positions, where they're stuck on site, they have no control, we just had a set execute. So we would have, let me just move these, let's just say they are on site, but we could neon wall, we could stun, we could sky flash, and they can't really stop it. There's nothing they can do about it. And that's pretty much how we would counter the Chamber. We just wouldn't let him get on any of his lines, and that's what was working well for us. Now Chamber's gone. It's quite sad, but I mean, it's not sad that Chamber's gone. I'm happy Chamber's gone. I don't see where Viper fits into any compositions anymore. Yeah, so for me, it's a little bit sad because I don't think Viper's very viable now in the current meta. I can see double duelist coming back. I don't see double controller being played. It could be double initiator. I just can't see the Viper being very viable. I'm sure you could still run it with putting the wall up to get the jet off angles and stuff like that, and it could still run the same way, but I think there's going to be better. If it's to hear about Viper in ranked, so I played a lot of Viper in ranked, and I still do the same thing. I'll come here, I'll use my wall, I'll put it up. Sometimes I'll run through and I'll get into this position, and I'll just wait here. Most of the time, they're not going to push up, but that's going to give me the pressure to work A on my own. Now, the reason Viper doesn't work in ranked Reason one, before you even load in and you're in agent select, you're going to hover Viper, and people are going to say, why are you playing Viper? You can't play solo controller Viper on Haven. Well, they're right. You don't want to play solo controller Viper, but those people who think you're playing solo controller Viper are pretty fucking stupid. So that's the first thing that's going to happen. The second thing that's going to happen is someone's going to be hovering Omen, or Brim, or Astra, and you're going to pick Viper. Your whole team's going to freak out, and they're going to be like, why the fuck are you playing double controller? Double controller sucks. Why have you picked Viper? We already have a controller. And your team's tilted before you even start, because again, they're not very smart, and they don't know what's going on. So there's your two problems with Viper. Before you've even started, you've probably tilted your team. If you haven't tilted your team by picking Viper, you're going to do this. You're going to run over to C. You're going to throw your orb on C. You're going to tell them you want to play C. And then you're going to look at your map. You're going to have one guy here, one guy here. You're going to have a guy sat next to you on C because he wants to play C. And then you're going to have a guy playing B. Then you've then got to try and explain to them that you don't need anyone else C with you. You can solo hold C. You just need an alarm bot here. Killjoy can set up here. The other three can play A. They're not going to like being told what to do because it's ranked and no one listens to anyone and they all get annoyed. So again, your team's going to tilt. Alright, the fourth reason that it's bad is you're going to do this setup. Killjoy's going to set up here, and let's say you're here, and let's say it's all going well. You got 3A. What's going to happen is you're going to have one guy swing up here and die. The other guy's going to swing and die. Then this guy's going to probably go and play in front of the wall over here and die, and you're going to lose the round. Or you're going to go 1-for-1. They're going to fall back, and you're thinking, wow, my team are actually going to use, they're going to use the wall. No, they're going to play here, they're going to fight here, they're going to die, and before you can rotate, you're in a 2v4 retake with your Killjoy, and you're pretty much doomed. It's very rare that the people are going to use your wall properly. They're going to talk to you, they're going to ask for your wall, they're going to know to play behind it, and that's not their fault. Like, Viper's not very common, so how can you expect them to know it? But they're also not going to listen to you in ranked because you're at the same rank as them and they think you're dog shit. So it's just very hard to use Viper in ranked. If you start on attack, I can almost guarantee, and I can pick up the agent. It's going to happen because it's happened to me a lot. You're going to do this wall. Let's say you're a couple of rounds in. You're on a buy round. You're going to do this wall. Your Jet and Reyna, one of them is going to come to here. They're going to be behind your wall like this. They're not going to ask you to drop it. They're going to clear this, and then they're going to walk through it, and they're going to get shot, and they're going to go, Viper, why have your wall there? Your wall sucks. What are you doing? And they're tilted. And it's going to be your Reyna or your Jet that does it. It's always the same. Instead of just asking you to drop the wall, and you can clear things, they're going to just flame your wall. They're going to call it bad. They're going to say it sucks. Then you're going to have to explain to them why it's good. They're not going to listen. And again, your team's tilted, and you've lost. So all in all, I would say don't play Viper in ranked because people just don't understand it. It's very rare. I've played it about on this map. Well, played it in ranked, just not on this map. I've played it a good 50 times on this map, and at least 60% of the time, people tilt or rage or get annoyed at me. And even if I win, I've had to explain to them what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and why it's good. And that takes up 2 rounds explaining to them what I'm doing.